Research shows that strength training can help people protect their brains, and every little bit helps, whether you're a professional bodybuilder or one of these so-called weekend warriors.
I love this idea. Our 9 News medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, is here to explain. So let's start with the basics. What is a weekend warrior?
Patients come into my office all the time and say, I'm a weekend warrior. And that means you're supposed to get those 150 minutes of exercise, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. They cram it all into the weekend. So more than half of that is done over the weekend. So these are people who are sedentary during the week because of life and schedules and such, and then really hit it hard on the weekends.
Does that work though? I mean, shouldn't you be spacing this out, or is it effective?
Well, so here's the science on it. So, of course, it's very convenient for us to do this, right? Not do anything during the week and then do it all on the weekends. It's also kind of fun because the weekend you have time off, so you can get outside and do hiking and exercise that's more interesting rather than just being on a treadmill at the gym. But when you're exercising in a short period of time at a high intensity, you're higher risk for injuries. Oh. You're more inconsistent, right? Because you also have other things to do on the weekends. And sometimes you're not necessarily allowing other things in your life for balance over the weekend. So the science basically they did a study looking at sedentary people who are weekend warriors, and people who space out their exercise. So the weekend warriors did much better than the sedentary people, of course. Lower
With
risk,
health?
Yes, lower risk
Really?
of dementia, stroke, anxiety, depression. So some exercise is better than no exercise. Yeah. And here's the thing that was surprising. It was kind of the same whether you were doing it all through the week or whether you packed it all into the weekend.
So my minutes, I'm sorry.
That's what I was going to say.
What are the minutes again that we're supposed to be getting?
A total of 150 a week.
And does it have to be 150? Can it be 100?
Something is better than nothing,
okay.
But we think there's a threshold effect at about 150. So if you can at least get to that. And again, that's 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So some people do the opposite. They exercise during the week and then they take the weekends off because they have other things happening. But the bottom line here, ladies, however you're getting your exercise, whether you're cramming it into the weekend, doing it during the week, it is really, really important to get some exercise, especially for women, because there's also evidence about how it can potentially prevent Alzheimer's and other types of dementia.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's something to this because I always undo all the good work I've done during the week. I eat well and I work out and then I'm like, weekend, and I'm not doing the best things. So what are some tips to make sure that we can get it in during the weekend?
Yeah, so first is if you're a weekend warrior, you have to warm up and cool down. You can't just jump right in because 5 days your body has not done anything. You're at much higher risk for injuries, tendon injuries, muscle injuries. The second is you are allowed to cheat a little bit on the weekends. So I do tell my patients that once a week, you can have a glass of wine if you really want. You can have
thank you.
A little bit more rich. You can have that ice cream you love, but you really have to work it off. So if you're tracking, and that's what's really important here, if you are going to cheat a little on the weekend, then work in some time to sort of counteract the effects of that, because life is about living longer and healthier. And then for my older patients, this new study on Alzheimer's I found fascinating, because for the longest time we thought it was cardiovascular activity that protected our brains, right? It helps with circulation, it helps with blood flow. But this is actually a study looking at strength training, where we're doing muscle conditioning exercises that build muscle mass that are preventing our hippocampus, which is the memory center of the brain, from aging or decaying as quickly.
Wow.
So we have to work in that strength training into the weekend, because we often think about running on the treadmill, the calories or what have you, but you have to make sure that strength training is a part of it as well.
So if you don't do strength training, you're not going to get the benefits to prevent early onset of dementia and Alzheimer's?
No, so basically it's one of the few interventions that's actually shown to prevent Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So everybody always says, how do I age better?
Right.
And we've always been focused on cardiovascular activity. That's that 150 minutes. But don't forget about those muscles. Don't forget about the core strength. We talked about how to do Pilates and yoga to build core strength for balance so you don't have falls and such. And then that little bit of meditation. So working in all those different types of activity into your routine allows you to cheat a little on the weekends.
Oh, yes.
And we can say Dr. Kohli said it was okay.
Or 1 glass of wine and 1 scoop of ice cream.
How big of a glass?
Well.
And a little half a scoop, kid scoop.
Oh, a half scoop.
A kid scoop. Okay. Dr. Kohli, thank you so much.